Hi guys, I'm Shade, I'm your host, and welcome back to Soul Revival. Today we are going to be talking about part 2 of my previous episode. First of all, I just want to say thank you for the messages I've been getting, and I want to say I am very grateful that I was able to record that, and I hope you did enjoy it, and I hope you did learn a lot from it. This is the part 2 where we are going to be talking about, I'm going to use my notes because I want it to be pretty scientific in the ways I'm going to be delivering the information. And have a bit more of a step-by-step and give you as much details as I can today on like warning signs or things that you can do afterwards and self-care. And so this is the part 2. I just want to add here as well the trigger warning and disclaimer. We will be talking about sexual abuse, both in adults and both in childhood, and in particular for events happening in the early stages, so in your childhood, but I'll be dealing with the theme in itself. And what I'm going to be talking about today is the more practical side of it, and all right, what do we do from now? So I'm gonna this is gonna be a very, 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 very helpful episode for all of the parents out there, because I'm gonna be talking about warning signs and ways that you can be aware of it, ways that it can not necessarily be prevented, but it can, I want to say prevented, because it means like with certain conversations and awareness, maybe some environments can be avoided. And I think from my personal experience, I reckon, I know I wouldn't be who I am today, but I know with certain awareness on both teams, whether it's me and the family, around the topic, certain conversations and more trust, I think some of the events could have worked differently, or I would have felt safer to communicate about it, or I would have gotten the help I needed much sooner and not 10 years later. And then I am going to be talking about signs or how it manifests right now in your adult life, and health issues related to it, and the big and chunky repercussions. And then we are going to be doing a little exercise together. So yes, buckle up, get your notes and start writing. And again, I want everybody to watch this till the end and just start learning and become more aware, because awareness is one of the biggest helpful tools for us to help, like, hopefully get better, because 1 in 5 women experiences this. It's too much. That is too much. This is in the States. Worldwide I think it might be a bit more than 1 in 5, but anyway, I think awareness is one of the biggest things. And I want this to be clear. It's not a me job because I've experienced it. Yes, it's my duty to heal from it, but it's all of us as jobs to be aware, talk about these things and help others and support other people, because the people around you, just because you're not necessarily involved, and I mean this, for example, I've had issues with this, for example, with guys, that maybe you haven't done anything to somebody, but also you are probably surrounded by people that are victims of certain types of abuses, or we all know that women are not safe to walk in certain areas at night, or kids are more at risk and we're vulnerable. So it's our job as a collective to be able to support each other and be there for each other. And it's not just a woman's job. So that's my other disclaimer. And I just want you guys to be open-minded and listen, and because you don't know what anybody else is going through. Like, a lot of the people that probably have watched the previous episode did not know that was my experience. And I know I joke a lot about, oh my God, I've gone through trauma. That's one of the cases, for example, and of traumatic experiences. And yeah, so just have grace for the people and understand it, because you don't know what somebody's going through mentally inside, or going through deep inside, and they may come across to you as rude, or they just may be having a shitty day, or some people are entitled, but some people may just be going through a hard time. All right, so first and foremost, let's talk about the topic. So obviously most of us know what sexual abuse is. I also want to mention that it's not just necessarily the penetrative act. There's multiple ways surrounding just that one act that classes as sexual abuse. And this is something that we need to talk about, because a few people don't realize what they've gone through was actually some sort of abuse. But just because that specific part did not happen, it doesn't mean that all of the extra touching in private areas, and this is for kids as well, sometimes they may not understand that what is going on, that's what it is, especially when it's between maybe like a teenager and a younger kid as well. It's not necessarily just old adults and kids. It can be different age groups as well in that area. That is also on the same bubble. And it's important to also note that because of this, when you're experiencing certain things, your mind will try to escape. So there's a lot of adults, for example, that don't remember certain memories from their early childhoods, and through certain exercises you can do and meditation, you can access that memory and understand why you're having so many specific issues that I'll be talking about, and you can pinpoint the memory to, okay, this is what might have happened, and this makes sense now, and now I can, have more of an awareness surrounding this. So I want to start with, how can we become aware and how can we prevent this? And I want to start with suggesting having conversations between us adults and having conversations with children. I know maybe it's not the best topic to tell your kids, hey, this could happen, but it's worth having that uncomfortable conversation with childlike terminology, so that they can understand, and if they ever come across something similar, they can understand, wait a second, mommy told me this is wrong. And then maybe they'll come talk to you, come talk to you. This is gonna be a harder episode to record than the previous one, because this is more in details. With awareness, then you can act on it. And had I known that what was happening to me was fucked up, I don't think I would have just stayed silent, thinking I was just not meant to say it to anyone. I knew maybe it was I knew that I shouldn't talk about it because I was told not to, but I didn't really understand to how wrong that was. And especially as a kid, that's when you learn your body boundaries. And I've learned more boundaries out this year, in the past 12 months, what boundaries around my body are and how do you do them. Imagine if you're a kid, this is stuff that we need to talk about. Even talking about what your boundaries are. You can't just say, if you don't want to, you say no. Different conversations. For example, if you can say to your child, by the way, if there's any friend or family member or strangers that wants to hug you and you don't want to be hugged, that's absolutely okay. Let mommy know, or you can tell them, I don't want you to hug me because this is my body. You can tell me if you don't feel comfortable talking to them about it, and I'll approach the adult. I'll pretend I'm the mom. I would approach the adult and just say, look, you need to respect my kids' boundaries. They, for whatever reason that you don't need to be involved in, they don't want to have any physical contact with you, they don't want to hug you, they don't want to this. If this hurts your feelings, that's something that you're going to have to deal with, but this is something that I've stated, and if this boundary gets crossed, then I'm going to have to rearrange the relationship that we will have, and you might not be as exposed to my child if this is how they feel, and if they feel uncomfortable with this sort of behavior. That's one way to deal with it. Or if they repeatedly say, you know, that they're not comfortable around a specific person, take that as a sign and just remove that person from your child. Because it doesn't necessarily have to mean that they've done anything, you know, sexual, but it just means that this person is making your kid uncomfortable, and you should be protecting your kid as an adult. Let me go in my mama bear mode. All right, so I'm going to list a few warning signs that you can see in your child. Or in kids, they don't have to be yours. If you notice these behaviors, say you're a teacher, you notice some of these behaviors, maybe it's time to keep an eye out for this. One is behavioral and verbal changes. So seeing a kid react more angrily, seeing a kid more in distress or more tired or more sad than usual or more quiet than usual. For example, I used to be the bubbliest of girls, and then after that summer I just turned super emo, super depressed. When I tap sometimes like this, is because I'm talking about uncomfortable situations, and I don't want any. I just want to clear it from my subconscious when I'm speaking it, and it does help me relax a bit more, so I don't start getting anxious talking about it. So if you do see me tap, that's why I'm doing it right now. Like when I'm specifically talking about certain topics, it just helps. Yeah. Another one is the verbal changes. So I've noticed in myself, my voice has changed. I think it was having for years not being able to speak about something and holding it in. There's this built up grudge or built up unspoken words that are stuck and sitting on my throat. And the more I'm speaking, the clearer, the softer it gets. But I've noticed my voice fully changed. Like I used to sing in a choir, and now if I sing, it feels like a cat is dying or something. Or it's very raspy. And you can hear when I speak, sometimes I eat my words and I munch my words. A lot of it maybe is because I am bilingual and I grew up speaking 2 languages, and when that happens, sometimes you're not just fully developed in either. And maybe because I speak, I don't know, a few languages or have different accents from living in Australia, maybe that's why as well. But I know that my speech, my communication and my speech kind of stunted when I was growing, and even I would have issues communicating like the short story version. I'm relearning how to tell a story, and you're hearing my podcast, like not just going from one point to the other, blah 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 blah, like trying to come to the juice of it. Another one is the child seems to have regressed in age. It's called regressional behavior, where the child feels like they're not maturing, but they're going the other way, whether they wet themselves in bed, they start being more needy with you, they need you to feed them. Or if it's, for example, I may be 25 right now, but I definitely act like a 12-year-old girl, and I didn't realize it. Like, it's like my growth froze there. It's like I froze to that age. And I remember when I used to date or when I was around men, I used to say, oh my God, I feel like a 12-year-old girl. That was a trauma response. That was a trauma response. I've had to come to terms with this, because I used to think, oh my God, I must really like this person. No, that's me being triggered and me being like feeling a bit unsafe. So like this little girl version of me comes out because I didn't develop the tools for me to, protect myself. So I'd feel stuck in that young girl, like, oh my God, I don't know what to say. Girl, the answer is remove yourself from that situation. Like, obviously, like you should, like it's okay to feel lighthearted around the people that you have a crush on, but girl, you should not be feeling that anxious around somebody you like. Like, it should feel safe for you. And I remember maybe one of my partners, I did dream about him today, actually. One of my partners, I would feel like a little girl, but that was in like the positive ways, because I felt semi-safe with him. So some of it was because I was a bit, that version of me was coming out, and I just, especially when it's coming around like sexual topics or themes, that was just me saying that. I was trying to say that I was not comfortable, but I didn't understand that. So yeah, so acting like a child or acting like a lot younger than your years could be an indicator that something kind of stunted your development. Food behavioral changes. So a child not eating, or child resorting to binge eating, a child resorting to like having difficulties like keeping the food down and throwing up a lot more. These behavioral patterns could indicate that something bigger is going on in the child. Another one is unusual new fears, and this is something that I wanted to talk about. So not even just unusual new fears, like where you have night dreams or stuff like that, or you're scared. It's fears of being touched, like fears of, like possessive fears. False alarm, it was a test. Like possession fears. So if you notice a child or an adult that is very possessive about their stuff, I think it's them trying to reclaim a sort of level of boundary and control, because when you have experienced certain physical abuses, your body has been taken away from you. Like your concept of this is my body, this is my boundary. Like when boundaries are crossed, you lose that sense of control, and you try to claim it in so many ways, whether it's freaking out, obsessing over morning routines, obsessing over getting every nitty little detail in order, and having all these OCDs with cleaning and stuff like that. If you touch my diary, not my personal diary, like my journal, my skin will feel like I'm like there's bugs crawling on me. If people touch my stuff, you touch my phone, you touch me, that's even a different one. I'm trying to like become better with physical contact, especially in partnerships, because I do want to cuddle, but like it's taken a lot of years to be able to even sleep in the same bed as a partner. And I've used to have issues with that when I was, for example, an episode like part 1, about that guy that I moved to Australia for. We would have arguments because I was not able to sleep in the same bed, and I would try to so that we could cuddle, and I would just be up all night. So the built up insomnia would just create so much tension between me and whoever I would date, because I need my own bed, and I just need to be away from anybody at night. And I think it also came from the particular setting of the abuse, which some would have happened maybe when I was sleeping, and sharing the bed. So that's another one, like physical possessions. And there's a difference of a kid having their favorite toy and not wanting somebody to play with that toy, and there's a difference with they get physically and emotionally so distressed with you touching their pens, you touching their sheets, you touching their stuff. So it's clearly something like indicating this boundary being crossed, and the body like I'm in discomfort because you're touching something that's mine and it feels like you're touching me. That's the best way I can explain it. And that's something that I've really had to work on, because it is something that I just really want to release, and it's something that I wanted to like focus on healing, especially in early stages of my journey. Like the fact that I get panic attacks if somebody would just rest next to me, or like sit next to me if they were taller than me, or public transport, like the claustrophobia. It gets real. Another one is vague symptoms being mentioned. So this is one that I experienced. I would always complain that I had headaches, I had tummy aches, I was tired. I would ask often to skip school and stay at home, and I was failing in school as well. That's another one. I was failing so hard, and I consider myself very smart, and I used to love studying, but obviously I was preoccupied with other things going on mentally that I just started failing, and I struggled remembering things. My memory loss is something that I'm really working on building now again, because you develop as a coping mechanism zoning out and blocking certain parts of your memory, so then you just forget to learn how to absorb the information and process it and keep it there, and not just let it fly out like one ear, one out, one in one ear, in out the other. And yeah, it's very interesting. Like, it's very interesting. So yeah, if you notice that somebody keeps mentioning they don't feel a certain way, or they always have cramps, they always have tummy, like if there's always something going on, like a little physical vague symptom or something always going on, that's another indicator that maybe there is something going on, but it's not your like migraine, it's not you just being tired. Like there's maybe something deeper on the subconscious level that you may not remember, or you may remember and you're just not giving that the reason to your problems. Yeah, and then so this is mainly with children. So these are warning signs that you can notice as an adult and just think, okay, well, I'm noticing this. Maybe I should go and speak with somebody, understand like if something's going on. I would not recommend approaching the child. And we'll be talking about that later. The other big one, which when I recorded last episode, I did cry in it when I did the first version of this. Another big one is art. So as you guys know, I just became a qualified art therapist. I finished my studies a month ago, and one of the biggest reasons was because it's the best tool for you to understand what's going on in children, and you can communicate so much through art. And I just want to talk about art therapy. Art therapy is a type of psychotherapy that uses two main principles. One, the fact that art making is therapeutic itself, and it's very relaxing and promotes stress relief and calmness, and it's a great tool to use when you're feeling anxious, stressed, and just to calm yourself down. But it also is the best or top two tool to understand what's going on in your subconscious, because you will analyze all the symptoms that come up through your handwriting and your drawing. And that's why journaling is so important. You will be able to visually see the map of what's going on in your subconscious, stuff that you don't even know maybe is a problem. You might be drawing something or doodling, and you're doodling certain symbols that you don't realize what's going on. But this is where, like me as an art therapist, or people that are experiencing understanding symbols, we can look at that and say, oh, there's clearly something off going on, or there's clearly some distress, or this means that, and blah blah blah. And you can inform yourself with symbolisms, or you can utilize an art therapist, but you can also learn how to read symbols yourself, because I really believe in doing it yourself sometimes. And the crazy thing that made me upset last time is I used to spend my teenagers and my childhood years drawing. Like, I would paint, draw, and the drawings were so dark. Like, the themes of death, the themes of sadness, the themes of anger, and like disruption. It was crazy. Like, I went back to Italy 2 years ago, and I looked at my childhood drawings, and I started crying. I thought, sorry, but how can you not understand that there's something going on? Like, why me as an 11-year-old girl, I'm drawing these demons and stuff, and like writing down death words, or like guns in there, and like tears. And I was like, it just shook my mind. So that's a big one. Please, if you see your kids or if you see anybody drawing or doodling very distressing things to look at, that you can look at it and say, whoa, that's a bit deep. That is the subconscious communicating something. Like, okay, so especially if a child, you don't just think it's imagination, because where are they getting this dark imagination from when it's something that might be going on inside? It doesn't necessarily mean that this has happened, although with some symbolisms you can kind of pinpoint what exactly might have happened, which is very interesting. But yeah, please, if you ever see children draw and you're a teacher, you see children draw something so dark, please don't necessarily question them directly, but like, please investigate this further, because it could save so much time in understanding what has happened. And yeah. Now the next one is that I'm going to be talking about is signs in adults. So signs in adults manifest a bit different, whether if it's something that's happened to you in your childhood or in your adulthood. It leads to depression, anxiety, but those are the main common ones. A fear of public speaking, a fear of public places, claustrophobia, a fear of being around people, and this hyper independence as well, of just having to be the only one that you can rely on, and you can't rely on anybody else. Other ones are more health related issues, and I think that's the biggest indicator sometimes, because when you grow old, sometimes you just get on with life, and when you don't process stuff on a mental level or the emotions, and you don't allow yourself to feel, then you just disconnect from your heart and you stop feeling as much, but your body will start to have the physical repercussions. And this is for mainly women's health. Issues with vaginismus, which is like physical pains in the vagina during certain types of activity. Is it this? I don't know what's the English word. This is the period one, the one you excessively bleed and have extremely painful periods. The other one is PCOS, all of these gynecological. Wow, oggi ciao. My English has left the building. Now I need to speak with my Italian accent, because what the fuck. Okay, so my English has left the building, and like I'm trying to not speak in Italian. Gynecological, okay, gyno-related issues. Fertility related issues a lot of the times are connected to specifically sexual traumas, or certain, it doesn't necessarily mean that you've been sexually abused, but if you actively stay in relationships where your body's telling you no, and your body's like, I actually don't really like this person, or I don't feel comfortable with this person, but you keep going because you love them, that's another way of creating all of this energy, because cycling is not something you really, really want, and you're just going with it because you feel like you have to. And that's like another, addition to this stored stagnant energy in your womb and in your private areas that will lead to problems in life. Another one is gut health. How many probiotics do you need to take to understand that your gut health issues is not just related to what you eat? Your gut is literally your second brain, and anything that that is going on in you emotionally, or that's causing you extra stress or extra anxiety, is literally going straight into there. So if you're having like a lot of digestive problems or intolerances, and particularly that developed around a specific time in your life, 2 + 2 is 4. Like, no matter how many probiotic screens, sun exposure you get, if you don't heal this on a emotional level, on a mental level, and on a spiritual level, nothing's gonna change, and you're still gonna have cramps anytime you go anywhere. Like, it shouldn't feel so painful for you to eat a meal that is actually good for you and nutritious for you. And once again, like, when you're in your fight or flight for so long, especially with CPTSD, complex post-traumatic stress disorder, or even normal stress, PTSD, your body's in fight or flight for long periods of times, or for an extremely quick, short period of time, but for high intensity. Your body doesn't work when you're fight or flight. Like, if you look at evolutionary wise, if you're running away from a lion, or if you're running away from a mammoth, you're not going to be sitting there and digesting your steak. So that's how, even evolutionary wise, that's why we have the fight or flight, and the digestion does not work at the same time. It means your body's not safe and is running away from something. So it needs to shut down all of the unnecessary energy being used, for example, in your digestion. So if you've been in this state for so long, of course your gut is going to be messed up. Of course your digestion is going to be messed up. Your skin as well is part of your digestion system. Like, if your skin is constantly messed up as well, and you always have breakups and you struggle to digest food, dig deeper, because maybe there is something, not necessarily in the sexual aspect, but there's something that has caused this disconnect and this dysfunction in your gut and in your body, and that's what you need to heal. Because once you've healed with that, everything else will flow. Okay, it's the mind, the body, and the soul. You can't just focus on the body, focus on working out, focusing on eating. Like, it's all connected. But yeah, the other one, 1 in 5. Yeah, sorry, I don't need my notes anymore, because that's all I needed. I just wanted to make sure that I got through all the bullet points. The other one, especially in adults or in children, is the issue connected to your self-identity. So you have a perspective of yourself that's a bit different. So it could, for example, you don't see yourself as what you are, or you have issues identifying your own place in the world. And do you need to mask your personality to be someone else so that you don't get caught, or so that people don't find out and you're not authentically really yourself? And this is, again, until you've kind of worked on things and done more of the healing. And yeah, so these are things I would like you to pay attention in yourself, in other people, and the people around you. And now I'm going to talk about I want to say preventative measurements, but it's not really preventative. Maybe let's go with what happens next and before. So we've talked about awareness. You now have an understanding of what to look out for. What do you do from there? So other than conversations about, physical boundaries, and if your kid, please, if a kid ever tells you don't feel comfortable around that family member, or I don't want to do this, please respect that. Because if they say, Mommy, I don't want to do this, or Daddy, I don't want to do this, or if they say, Mommy, I want you to change my nappy, I don't want Daddy to change my nappy, or vice versa, please, you need to respect that. Because if you don't respect what they say to you, you're teaching them that they should not need boundaries. Especially like if they reach a certain age where you're always the one that you swap between mum and dad changing nappies. And say, for example, it's a little girl and she starts speaking around 2 and she wants Mummy to change her nappies. Even if you're tired and you don't want to be the one always doing it, please respect that, because that's her private areas and that's her communicating her own boundaries, that maybe she just doesn't want a man changing a nappy. And that's like, and it can be, I'm just generalizing right now because I saw this recently of a mum. She was explaining that this has happened and she was a bit annoyed at first because obviously not with the child, but she was a bit like, oh, like I'm going to have to be the one doing the nappies from now on all the time and not sharing with a partner. But this is where you really need to listen to kids' boundaries and respect them. If not, they'll grow up as an adult that doesn't respect their own, but also other people's boundaries. And that's the one. Because when you don't understand that you have boundaries, you're not going to be respecting other people's ones, you know? Like, how many times have I told somebody, can you just stop, like, doing this, or can you stop doing that? And they'll just keep doing it as a joke. If I tell you once, like, hey, it bothers me when you tickle me this way, or it bothers me when you, like, if you need me, can you just not tap, or, like, can you just not put your hand on my arm? Can you just tap me with a hard finger? That's the other one. I don't like soft touches because of certain specific physical memories that I have connected to that. Like, if you need to grab my attention, grab my attention. Don't just like lightly caress me. That will trigger my fight or flight straight away. And I know it's not your thing to know, but if I'm communicating it to you, that's when you need to respect that. And that's when you need to like learn that this is my boundary that I've communicated. And vice versa, if a child gives you one of them, respect it. You know, if they say they don't want to wear wet clothes, then maybe that's something that they feel uncomfortable with, wet clothes. Then maybe you're going to have to bring a second pair of clothes, so when they get wet, they can change into something dry. Like, these are the things that, you know, will adapt. Anyway, so we talk about understanding some of the symptoms. What do you do next? So this is hard, because even when I was younger, I didn't feel like I could speak to my parents about this, because of, I know their own views of certain conversations, and I didn't realize that, one, I didn't know if they would believe me. Two, I didn't know if they would move away from this person because this person was in the family. And three, I didn't know if it was going to change anything, because if I told them and we have to go back together, like, and still be around this family member, nothing changed the way I needed it to, nothing legally was done, then I knew that at 11 years old, I would have had to move out, because there's no way I'm living in a family that does not support me. So I think I was just scared of talking about it. So if anybody does come to you and opens up, this is how you can handle it. As a child, do not ask any questions. Like, do not let them speak, let them talk. Do not use any specific words. Just say, oh, how are you? Like, just let them know that you're there for them and that you believe them and that it's not their fault. Saying statements like, baby girl, I am here for you and I will be here for you throughout this journey. Don't make any promises, because then if you do break that promise, you've just created another issue, especially with the kids. Don't make promises. Just say, I'm going to be here for you. Whatever you need, please come to me and I'll support you as best as I can. And I'm here whenever you're ready to talk more. I won't ask if you don't want me to ask. You can share as much or as little as you need, and just let me know what I can do for you to make you feel best supported. You can use kids' terms. You don't have to be like, I don't know if a kid would understand this, to be fair. It looks like a bit serious. But just giving them the space to come to you and you not having to question them, and not using like questions like, where did they touch you? Where was this? Do not, please. Because as soon as I told my mom, that was the first question. And I was like, Mom, it's taken me like 10 years to open up. Are you really going to ask me the details? Like, it's taken me years. And obviously it comes from lack of, I think, awareness in these topics. And also from shock. Because probably that's the first response might literally be like, oh my God, what did they do? Don't go that way. Like, just, that's where you breathe, wait 30 seconds, 60 seconds before you respond, okay? And then if it's an adult, again, ask them whatever resources they need. Like, ask as well, okay, I'm so, like, this is shit that you have had to go through this. I'm here for you. Anything that you need, please let me know. How can I support you? Do you want to talk about this? Do you need help in anything around your house? Like, do you need me to help you cook? If it's especially recently happened, like, how can I best support you with like food, doing your laundry, helping you in your chores? Can I help you find resources of where we can go and talk about this? Obviously, let the person give you their own timings, because if they're not ready to go like to the police or stuff like that, fair enough. You might need to, just say, hey, I know this is going to be uncomfortable, but it might be best that we go together to the police now, because to get like as much evidence as you can, I'm going to be here for you throughout this whole journey and afterwards, and let me just handle what I can. This is another way to be, you know, supportive. Patience, giving the person patience to understand how they're going to express their feelings afterwards and how they're going to feel about the world. And I know it can be frustrating sometimes when you're dealing with somebody and you don't know what's going on and they act a certain way, but honestly, patience and understandings, whether you don't fully know the full picture yet, this is needed, because it might take them like another year for them to be ready to tell you anything, but you just know that something's off and they don't owe you anything. They don't need to tell you something. And just be cautious as well with like how you go from there physically. Like if, like, especially if this is a partner of yours and they've experienced something like this, don't put pressure on somebody. You're just going to have patience. Don't put pressure on somebody on like cuddling or physical things that maybe they're not initially comfortable with, and it might take a while. Like, don't ever... I felt pressure previously to have to, you know, sleep in the same bed at night or cuddle somebody. And just in case he's watching, it's not my ex. This is the person that broke my heart. Like, I just felt like I had to get over it so that we could sleep in the same bed, because I don't know if he told me like, oh, come on, get over it, just come give me a cuddle, stuff like that, when I was trying to get comfortable. And I tried and it's taken me years. And so it's just having the patience of, it may not make sense to you, but if just give them grace and give them patience, and eventually with support, it is something that you will get through and you will heal. That was a big chapter, eh? Let me see if there's anything else I want to talk about. I think that's pretty much it. Like, being open and understanding and listening and inform yourself, you know. And this is not just women. Like, it affects men as well. It's just, I'm not a man, so I don't really physically... I can understand and relate, and I can guess how it might feel, but also I know it's very different, because the way I view it is, if I was a man going through certain sexual abuses, I know that there's also the ego issue to come to play, and the power dynamic of this social construct of the masculine is meant to, you know, protect and be strong and all of this. And when that gets taken away from you, then it can mess up your whole identity and your whole view of being a man and your whole view of your own, like, you know, identity. So I mainly speak on children and women, because that's my topic that I'm more understanding of, and I don't want to put words in other people's experiences. So yeah, but thank you so much for tuning in. If you're ever in a case where you or a person around you is having a panic attack, surrounded especially to this topic, I'm going to do a quick round of breathing exercise. Let's do the breathing. So this is called the box breathing technique, and this is the best one when you're feeling very anxious and you need to like ground yourself in the moment, or like your child is telling you something that's going on, for example, and they're seeming very distressed. So the breathing technique is on a concept where you create a breath in a box. The box breathing technique is a concept where you breathe in a box shape. So you inhale, pause, exhale, pause. And each side of the box will be about 3 to 4 to 6 seconds, however long you want to do, and you can do. 3 to 6 seconds is a good initial one that you need to do when you're feeling very anxious. So we're going to do this now. You'd breathe in for 3, pause, exhale, pause. Okay, let's keep this going. We do 3 rounds. Thank you so much for subscribing today. I'll see you in the next one.